Hello, everyone, and welcome to my mission admission. In television or in movies, we all must have heard of this phrase, this dialogue. I object, Your Honor. This dialogue is generally presented in a courtroom scenario and said by a lawyer. So, today, our topic of discussion would be this particular field, which is law. Who is a lawyer? Any person who practices the law is called a lawyer. There are a certain set of rules, regulations, principles, guidelines, rights, responsibilities prescribed by the country, and this is called the law or the constitution or the code of the country. And the person who adheres or makes adhere to this constitution is called the lawyer. In different countries across the world, lawyers are given different names. For example, advocate, barrister, solicitor, litigator, counselor, etc. But the basic responsibilities of every lawyer remains the same. The first responsibility of any lawyer is oral arguments in a courtroom. Any client whom a lawyer is representing in a court has to put his or her petition in the court, and that petition is being argued by the lawyers. There will be lawyers of different parties, and those parties will be having a point that is being argued in the court, and that point is being argued by the lawyers. So the lawyer, within the legal framework of the society and of the constitution, argue upon that point, and then the judge finally gives his verdict. That's the oral argument that happens inside the courtroom. The second responsibility is research and drafting of court papers. Before any matter is brought in front of the judge in the courtroom, it has to be a written documentation of this has to be created, and that in the form of petition is then presented to the court. So formalizing and creating this petition is also a very important task that has to be fulfilled by a lawyer. The third aspect or the third responsibility of lawyer is providing legal advice to the clients, to the corporates, or to different governments or societies in the country. Every society or every individual or every company, corporate organization has to perform within a legal framework, within a legal jurisdiction, and that adherence is taken care of by a lawyer. So the companies or individuals generally hire these lawyers to maintain their functioning of the organization within the legal framework of that country. The next responsibility that a lawyer fulfills is client intake and counseling. Whenever any client is having any problems, be it in the organization, be it in the society, or be it with any other individual, the client goes to a lawyer, seeks advice, and takes advice in the form of whether the case that he is filing is legal, lies in the legal framework, and what are the possibilities of that case, whether his stand is a true stand or not. And this advice needs to be provided by the lawyer. And if the lawyer is able to provide successful advice, then the petition is created and forwarded to the court. One very important aspect or responsibility of a lawyer, at least in today's world and in this growing global scenario, is protection of intellectual property. Many individuals or many institutions or organizations are based on research and development, and whatever research they do, they file intellectual property rights for that. For example, copyrights, trademarks, these are very common forms of intellectual property, and thus they hire these lawyers to preserve their intellectual property, to preserve their right over this intellectual property. Another thing is conveyancing. Conveyancing basically deals with transfer of rights and properties or shares from one person to another. For example, if one person has a piece of land and he wants to sell that land to or mortgage that land to any other person, this has to be done in the form of a deed and has to be sanctioned by the government. This sanctioning and creation of the deed is done by the lawyer. Finally, one very important piece of responsibility that lies with the lawyer is prosecution and defense of criminal suspects. Any crime that is being committed in the country needs to be proved in order to convict the criminal. And for that to happen, a formal procedure in the form of prosecution and defense of that person who is being faced with the who is facing the criminal charges is performed in the court of law. The person, the suspect who is facing this charge, also has a right to defend himself, and so does the society to prosecute him. So, this argument is taken care in the courtroom in front of a judge, where the lawyers who are of the either party, of prosecution or defense party, put their arguments in front of the judge, and then this argument finally leads to the prosecution or release of the suspect. So these are a wide set of responsibilities that lawyers need to perform. But what is it required in order to practice law or to become a lawyer? A practicing certificate issued by the government or the court of the country needs to be taken by any lawyer before he starts practicing law. And for this, he has to take a graduation or a bachelor's degree in law. In India, BA LLB, Bachelor of Arts in Law, is the degree which is a standard degree which is provided by universities for any individual who wants to pursue a law after a 3-year graduation course. After completing this, the person can start practicing law in different areas or verticals, but can also pursue a specialization course in masters. This course gives you a higher value in the legal industry. It gives you a specialization in a particular field, be it corporate field, be it criminal justice or any other field, and then you can practice it in that manner. So this is some basic information that you need to know before you pursue a course in law. We will be creating many such more articles on different fields. So stay tuned on My Mission Admission and keep looking for the article of your dream career and select your dream career, course and college with My Mission Admission. Thank you so much.